Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're taking one of the absolute most exciting steps you can take in the programming world, writing and executing your very first Java code. Whether you're staring at a completely blank screen for the very first time, or you're just looking to understand the precise mechanics of how Java actually operates under the hood, we've got a clear, step-by-step journey mapped out for you today. We're going to demystify the whole process, turning what might look like complex jargon into a super logical flow of actions. Let's get into it.
To get to a running program, we'll follow a really methodical approach. 1. Setting up the workspace. 2. Testing your Java tools. 3. Checking out the JShell sandbox. 4. Writing your first code. And finally, 5. Compiling and running.
All right, Section 1, setting up the workspace. So the crucial point here is understanding exactly how we organize our work. When you open up an editor like VS Code, you're going to be managing what developers call a project. Now, project is kind of a broad term, right? It's not just a single file. Instead, it's basically the overarching folder where we create various code files and merge them together with external libraries to build an actual application. In VS Code, you'll manage all of this through a feature called the Explorer, which neatly stores all the files for your specific app right there in one central folder.
Now, to get VS Code perfectly tuned for Java, there are just a few essentials you need to know. First, like we just mentioned, you use the Explorer to manage your project folders so everything stays nice and organized. Second, and trust me, this is a massive time saver, VS Code has a built-in terminal. This means you don't have to constantly flip back and forth between your code editor and your computer's separate command line window just to run your commands. It's all right there in one unified place. And finally, when you open a Java file for the first time, VS Code is probably going to recommend adding an extension. You'll absolutely want to grab the extension pack for Java. That's what gives your editor all the smart features it needs to actually understand your code.
Moving right along, Section 2, testing your Java tools.
And this brilliantly illustrates a fundamental concept that honestly trips up a lot of beginners. There isn't just one Java tool working behind the scenes. There are actually two primary ones that we need to test in our terminal. If you type Java-version, you're checking the version of the execution tool. That's the tool that actually runs your finished program. But if you type Java C-version and notice that extra C at the very end, you're checking the version of the Java compiler. The compiler is the tool that translates the human-readable code you type into a language that your computer can actually execute. You need both of these commands to return a version number just to prove your system is totally ready to go.
Okay, Section 3, the JShell sandbox. Consider this problem for a second. What if you just want to see what happens when you add two numbers together or, print a single word? How can we test code quickly without the heavy overhead of setting up a massive project, creating a bunch of files, and running through that entire compilation process we just talked about?
Well, the answer is JShell. Introduced back in Java 9, JShell is essentially your experimentation sandbox. It lets you create small snippets of code and perform operations instantly. It completely bypasses the need for creating full project files, which makes it incredibly useful specifically for running quick experiments or learning new concepts on the fly. You just type a command, hit enter, and boom, you instantly see the result. It is absolutely the best place to practice your syntax when you're just starting out.
Which brings us to Section 4, writing your first code.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is just how much power is packed into this single line of code, System.out.println hello world. Let's break that down a bit. Print is an inbuilt method in Java, and its entire job is to output whatever you give it. We use it together with System.out to tell Java exactly where to send that output, which, in this case, is our screen. When you run this line, the computer will literally talk to you, displaying the words hello world. You can also pop numbers in there, like System.out.println 6, and it's going to print the number 6. Pretty cool, right?
While printing text is highly satisfying, you've got to remember that Java is a pretty strict language, and there are some essential syntax rules you absolutely must memorize to avoid errors. First up, when you graduate from JShell and create your first actual file, it has to have the .java extension. Think hello.java. Second, if you want to print text, you must wrap that text in double quotes so Java knows for sure it's a string of characters. And finally, and seriously pay close attention to this one, you must always end your statements with a semicolon. I'm telling you, forgetting a semicolon is basically a rite of passage for every new coder out there, but keeping it in mind early on will save you a ton of troubleshooting time later.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 5, compiling and running.
To finally get your code to run, you basically just have to distill the process down into these two vital steps, utilizing the exact tools we tested earlier. Step 1, you must compile the code. Down in your VS Code terminal, you type the command javac followed by your file name. This is what translates your human-readable Java file into machine code. If there are no errors, like say missing semicolons, it silently succeeds. Then you move right into step 2, running the code. You type the command java followed by your class name. This right here is where the magic happens. The execution tool takes over and your Hello World text will finally appear on the screen.
And just like that, by following this structured process, you have successfully translated and executed your very first code. You set up your workspace, you tested your tools, experimented in JShell, mastered some basic syntax, and absolutely conquered the compiler. You've printed your first words, the foundation is officially laid. So the only question left for you is, what will you build next? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and happy coding!